What is going on, YouTube? Andrew Miller from Hook'emHeadlines.com coming back at y'all today with one of multiple videos we've got coming this weekend concerning the fallout, reactions, analysis, all of that for Texas's massive 34-24 win over the number 3 ranked Alabama Crimson Tide. Texas got the big win yesterday in Tuscaloosa. Kind of controlled the game almost the entire way outside of some slip-ups in the third quarter, some missed opportunities in the first half. I thought the team played really well. Quinn Ewers was amazing. The defense held Alabama at bay for the most part, made some big plays on those 2 picks. But for this particular video, I want to talk about the implications that this win has for Texas on the recruiting trail. Alabama had dozens of visitors, along with some Texas targets in attendance. Beyond that, there were plenty of recruits obviously watching this game in prime time. This was a huge opportunity for Texas to show the progress they've made under Sark and his staff in the last couple of years, and they definitely did that. But I want to pinpoint some specific recruits that had a lot of positive things to say about Texas coming out of the game, some recruits that are really active on social media, and then even a couple that are trending Texas in the last 24 hours or so after the win. So already starting to see some dominoes fall on the recruiting trail, but yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. The first name I want to mention, and actually I guess before I get into this, I do want to mention I did a piece on the site, 10 key recruits impressed by the win. I'll link that right up in the description below if anyone wants to read a little bit more on that, including the specific social media posts. But yeah, first one up is 5-star Duncanville edge rusher and Texas commit Colin Simmons. Colin Simmons is the type of commitment in this class that you want to impress in these sort of games, because we already know how big of a factor it is for Colin to be able to play in the SEC next year. I don't think he would have ended up at Texas, honestly, if not for the early move to the SEC in 2024. But, winning these sorts of games, these national stage SEC level games that have playoff implications, Simmons is a big-time player, and he wants to be a big-time player in big-time games. And Texas has shown that they can give him that platform, that they can put him in that position to succeed and help this team win on a national stage. Simmons was very active on social media. He was retweeting plenty, or I guess reposting plenty of other posts from Texas commits and targets on social media. He was seen on IG this morning holding up the Hook 'em hand sign, decked out in the burnt orange. I think that was the baseball jersey he was wearing when he committed to Texas, when he did the announcement exactly 1 month ago today at Duncanville High School. He had a few tweets during the game himself saying, "Y'all know what it is, holding up the Hook 'em." I believe that was that was earlier this afternoon. He tweeted out Hook 'em, and like I said, just very active. He was clearly very impressed with what Texas was able to do on the field. And then next up on the list, starting with some of Texas's commitments here, so we'll move into some of the other key targets after these first few names. But next up is high 4-star IMG Academy running back and UT commit Jerrick Gibson. Gibson was ecstatic. I saw him post something where he's just dancing around on social media, wearing some Texas gear, just going crazy. He was, again, pretty active on social media. Just in general, it seemed like he was thoroughly impressed with the way Texas played, which is great because, Texas, I'll be honest, they didn't get a whole lot going on the ground yesterday, but obviously the offense looked great, and the ground game came through when it mattered. CJ Baxter had some nice runs, and he was definitely running hard against Alabama. He looked just like a completely different back than he did in week 1, which is impressive considering he's coming off the injury. And then, Texas also had Jonathan Brooks that was contributing. He had a key touchdown, and I thought he blocked pretty well. And so, also getting Jaden Blue and Keelan Robinson involved. Even though Texas production-wise wasn't super impressive on the ground yesterday, they did what they needed to get the job done. And with CJ Baxter, again, running as hard as he did and showing the amount of confidence and aggressiveness that he was, he was the number 1 running back recruit in the nation in the 2023 class. And Gibson, for a while, was number 1 in the 2024 class. Maybe he reclaims that spot, but he's still one of the best backs in the country in the 2024 class. He said after the game that Texas did a great job of staying aggressive throughout the game. I'm kind of talking about that physicality that Texas was showing on the ground. The offensive line played really well, so I'm sure that was something that Gibson noticed. And then he also said that, it was just huge for Texas to come out with the win. Obvious stuff there, but again, these are the types of highly rated commits. There's still going to be other teams that are trying to chip away at Gibson's commitment to Texas, and these types of wins are what keeps recruits not only locked in, but very involved, getting other recruits that want to come to Texas too, getting them in the boat. Next up on the list, I've got 4-star wide receiver commit, Lucas Lovejoy product, Parker Livingstone. Livingstone had a massive start to the season, really caught a lot of attention with his week 1 performance. I think that was against College Station. Looked like he was going to be a riser in the national recruiting rankings, and unfortunately suffered a foot injury that's going to keep him out for a little while. That was last week. But Livingstone clearly fully locked in with Texas. There's no doubt about that. Again, he's always very involved in social media, like very active, recruiting other guys, talking with the other Texas commits in this class. But, he said that Texas is going to destroy in the SEC, and that, that just how impressive it was that Texas was able to take down a team as tough to play in Tuscaloosa as Alabama is. Next up, I got 4-star IMG Academy safety Jordon Johnson-Rubell. I gotta say that at least among the Texas commits, Johnson-Rubell might have been the most active on social media last night. Between his post-game reaction and just what he was putting up on social media, he completely engaged, completely locked in. He was also helping to recruit other top priority prospects for Texas in the 2024 class. He had a post on social media where he was tagging Micah Hudson, Ryan Wingo, and Corian Gibson. Wingo even ended up reposting that, with that post that was recruiting him to Texas from Johnson-Rubell. Specifically after the game, Johnson-Rubell said that, these recruits can't be afraid to come to Texas and, be afraid to change and usher in this new era of Texas football. He specifically said that you shouldn't be afraid to be great at Texas and win here. He also posted something similar like that on Twitter. Then let's move into some of the recruits that Texas is prioritizing in the 24 and 25 class, but aren't committed to Texas or aren't committed yet. First one is 5-star wide receiver, number one 2025 wide receiver recruit in the nation in the 24/7 Sports Composite and On3 industry ranking, Ryan Williams. Williams, a guy that's committed to Alabama right now. He seems pretty firm on that commitment too, but I'd be lying if I said that Texas wasn't chipping away at that commitment a little bit. He told Horns 24/7 after the game that not only is he planning a visit to Texas for a game this fall, but also that Texas is one of his top 3 schools. Alabama obviously the leader there, but he's also heavily considering Auburn and Texas, potentially looking to take multiple visits to both schools. Texas has clearly made progress in this recruitment, made up some ground. Williams' teammate 2025 Sarah Lane quarterback KJ Lacey is committed to Texas in the 2025 class. He's, also someone that's helping Texas recruit Williams. And coming to Alabama's home field and, especially Texas's passing game showing out the way it did, Ewers almost 350 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. You saw big days from the likes of JT Sanders, tight end, Xavier Worthy, and Adonai Mitchell at wide receiver. These are the things that are going to look great to a recruit like Williams, who I think was already pretty high on Texas, already potentially looking to take a visit. We mentioned that on the site before, but again, this type of win is really going to catch his attention and be something that can be a needle mover for him moving forward. Next up on the list is 5-star Waco Connolly cornerback Kobe Black. The recruit that I would consider Texas's kind of must-get prospect in the 2024 class this fall. Texas has remained the leader in this recruitment, I think, for 6 months now, probably going back to the spring. Black, he wasn't visiting Alabama for the Texas game, but, he definitely someone that was locked in. Kobe's not really a guy that ever has many words, but definitely very attentive, kind of soaks up the recruiting process. And after the game, he said that Texas looked good in the win, and it was a great game. He noticed that the Longhorns were just really juiced up, came to play. I think another note that's important for Black this weekend, he was originally scheduled to take an official visit to LSU, and he canceled that official visit. So now I think Texas is really looking good in this recruitment. We'll see if he kind of moves up that decision timeline. It seems like a couple of times now in the last few weeks, it's looked like he's come close to announcing a commitment, and it just keeps getting pushed back. But him canceling that LSU official is big news. He's also got officials this fall, I believe, to Texas A&M and Alabama. Those are coming up in the next month or so we'll be keeping an eye on that. But again, Texas, between its play on the field and having the relationships they do in this recruitment for Kobe, I really like where they sit early this fall. Next up on the list is 5-star St. Louis University wide receiver, one of the top 5 wide receiver recruits in the nation in the 2024 class from all the major recruiting services, Ryan Wingo. I think that, I mentioned this in the article I did, I don't know if there's a recruit that came away more impressed that's uncommitted right now, not among the Texas commits, but among those uncommitted recruits that came away more impressed from Texas's play on Saturday night against Alabama than Wingo. Again, I mentioned this with Williams, but Texas used their wide receivers really well. Again, Worthy looked good, Whittington, Adonai Mitchell. Quinn Ewers obviously had a career game. He's just off to an insane start this season, over 600 passing yards, 6 touchdowns, no interceptions. Wingo he was juiced up after this win. He, again, active on social media. He reposted a couple of different things on IG that were interesting. Like I said, one that post from Jordon Johnson-Rubell that was tagging Wingo, Hudson, and Gibson. And then had a couple of other posts with him and Sark and things like that. I think what he said, though, after the game was kind of the most telling. That he said that it was just, obviously he said it was a great game, like the way that Texas played, but he mentioned that he's really ready and just seriously hyped for that Texas unofficial visit he has for the Wyoming game next weekend. Texas is hitting its stride at the right time in this recruitment. Again, Wingo, one of the biggest visitors, if not the biggest visitor among the uncommitted recruits for the Wyoming game. Texas and Mizzou were figured to be the top 2 schools in this recruitment heading into the fall, and I think Texas has the momentum in this recruitment right now. I believe it's 2 forecasts that were entered today, or at least the last 24 hours, projecting Wingo's commitment to Texas, the latest coming from Inside Texas's Jerry Hamilton. It was like 6.5 out of 10 confidence, so pretty high on the meter there. I think Texas not only made an impression with Wingo, but really made a big move with this win. And Texas has an opportunity to capitalize on even more momentum if they can have a big visit weekend, big win over Wyoming at home next weekend. Next up on the list is 5-star Timpson athlete Terry Bussey. Bussey was in Tuscaloosa for his official visit to Alabama this weekend. And I know that Texas isn't one of his schools at the top of the list. He's figured to be a Texas A&M lean, but Bussey, someone that's considering taking a visit to Texas for the Wyoming game this weekend. If Texas is able to make a late run here, Bussey's got a September 28th commitment date. If he takes that visit for the Wyoming game, has a good experience, who knows, there could be some late twists and turns here. I think in this recruitment, Texas was a little late to the bell initially. Texas A&M was really pushing early in Bussey's recruiting process, and I think that's why A&M is the leader right now. But, Texas still has that in-state proximity close to home. Bussey has enjoyed his visits that he's taken to Texas, including his official back in June. And, again, I think if Texas can get him back on campus this coming weekend and they really, really push for him, they can make a move here. Is it enough to close the gap on A&M? I don't know, but it's at least enough to make this recruitment interesting. And if Texas is going to be recruiting him through the finish line on signing day in December, these strides you can make on the field this fall are going to make a huge impression on him, and something's going to stick in his mind. Something that I saw on social media, I think was earlier today, like a Texas fan page posted that Texas is the move for Bussey, put a picture of him on his official visit, and he reposted on IG, had a couple of other posts involving Texas. So, again, he was visiting last night. Texas, this is the type of guy that you wanted to make an impression on. Texas clearly did that. He said after the game that he wasn't surprised the way that Texas played, and that he just thought that the team that played better was going to win. So it kind of shows what he thinks of Texas and the direction of the program. And then the last name I have on the list among the guys that were impressed on my article on the site is 4-star Missouri City, Texas, Fort Bend Marshall safety Joshua Lair. I wanted to mention Lair in this list because he's got a commitment date coming up on September 24th. He was in Seattle for his official visit to Washington this weekend, and it seems like he was still watching what Texas was doing on the field. So clearly, he's someone that was locked in, fully engaged with Texas. I think Texas and Baylor are his top 2 schools heading into his commitment date, but if Texas really pushes here, I think they can get him. But, Lair was really impressed with the way Texas played, along with all the other guys. He said that this was a statement win for the Longhorns. He loved that the guys finished strong. It just seemed like the way the defense played, not just this weekend, but the last 2 weeks, is something that's really, really caught his attention. There's a lot of physical defensive backs that are playing really well for Texas. And just the entire defense is really locked in, playing like one of the best defenses in the Power 5. Lair's a hard-hitting safety. He's a guy that I think has a lot of upside, is a solid boundary safety in the Power 5. Got some of those SEC traits, that physicality, and this is something that has to resonate with him. So, with him having a commitment date coming up in exactly 2 weeks from today, this was big for Texas. Speaking on commitment dates, some other big recruiting news in the 2024 class, things like that. September 24th is not only a commitment date for Lair, but also Texas's top offensive tackle recruit. in the 2024 class, 5-star Brandon Baker out of Mater Dei. So, I didn't include Baker on this list of recruits that came away impressed, but, you have to consider that this only helps Texas's case that they're winning a game like this on the road against Alabama, making this, again, getting this sort of statement win, in Lair's words. And so, Baker released, I guess he kind of reaffirmed his top 5. It was a post from Hayes Fawcett. It was earlier this morning. Texas obviously included in that group. I love where Texas sits with Baker heading into his September 24th commitment date. Oregon still, I think, remains a player here. Nebraska is still locked in. Ohio State's been making a push, but Kyle Flood has a great relationship with Baker, really sold him on the plan for him, come in, make an immediate impact at Texas. And I think the thing to watch for Baker in the next 2 weeks is where his recruitment is kind of trending as he heads into, I think September 22nd, 23rd, something like that, official visit to Nebraska. That's the last visit he has before his commitment date. I think that official visit will happen, but I don't know how much Nebraska is going to be able to really move the needle there, especially they've kind of gotten off to a slow start this season, so they don't have much momentum on the field. But for Baker, if he comes out of that Nebraska official visit, Texas still has buzz in this recruitment. You got to like where they stand heading into his September 24th commitment date. Again, he is that top priority recruit, number 1 offensive tackle recruit in the nation in the 2024 class. Texas is in a great spot for him right now, and I think that momentum is only going to continue. One other note for the 2024 class, one of the top priority edge rushers, and I guess I can talk about both edge rushers that are the top priorities at this point in the 24 class. So, Texas's highest rated edge rusher target that remains uncommitted in the 2024 class is Danny Okoye. And Okoye released a top 3 list of schools on social media earlier today. Texas was in one of the schools that he mentioned. I believe the other 2 were Tennessee and OU. Interesting that Alabama didn't make the cut there, but really shows where Texas is sitting in Okoye's eyes right now. It looked like last week he was really starting to trend to OU. Him and his mom took an official visit to Norman. Seems like they had a really good experience. I think that was last weekend. OU probably still a favorite in this recruitment, but Texas sitting in a good spot. Again, seems like Okoye was impressed with the way they played. Only got 1 or 2 quotes there, but Texas, they're staying alive. They decided to take 3 edge rusher recruits in the 2024 class, edge rusher commitments. They already got Zina Umeozulu, 4-star out of Allen, and 5-star Colin Simmons that I mentioned earlier in the video. But Okoye, if they want to take 3 edge rusher commits, and I don't even know if technically they need to, I think he might be a numbers buster in this class. He might be someone that Texas is saying, no matter what, you have a spot in this class. And then the other edge rusher recruit that I wanted to mention before wrapping up this video, 4-star Tampa Carrollwood Day product, Solomon Williams. Texas, Alabama are 2 of the top schools involved in his recruitment this fall, and he was in attendance for the Texas-Alabama game this weekend at Bryant-Denny Stadium. Didn't get that many quotes from Williams, but again, this is the type of win that Texas needs to show. You got great edge play, I think, in the win over Alabama. Anthony Hill, that kind of linebacker hybridized edge rusher role, looked really good. Had 6 combined tackles, 2 sacks, multiple quarterback pressures. Ethan Burke, strong start to the season, had 1.5 tackles for loss, 1 sack, multiple quarterback pressures against Bama. I think he's got 2.5 sacks to start the season, 8 quarterback pressures. I think he's 3rd in the Power 5 in pass rushing productivity among edge rushers to start the season. So he's off to a fantastic start. It's really showing that Texas is hitting its stride, developing at the edge position. And some of these high upside guys, Williams is an ultra productive blue chip edge rusher, and Okoye obviously has an incredible amount of upside. It's just a physical freak at the next level. And so Texas showing what they need to really load up on talent at a position of need in the 2024 class. But yeah, anyway, that's pretty much it for this video. Again, wanted to mention, 10 or a dozen names among top recruits that were impressed by the win, and we got plenty more coverage for y'all coming up on the channel, on the site, so stay locked in with us. But anyway, for Andrew Miller, Hook'emHeadlines.com, that's pretty much it. Hook 'em.